Hello everyone! Today we will be making Easter recipe. These ones are very traditional and known, and these are called Jidáše, which translates into Judas buns. This bread is formed in the shape of a knot, which represents Judas hanging himself after he betrayed Jesus. These days you will see many different shapes of Jidáše, but I will stick with the tradition and we will be making the knots. Usually these are baked on last Wednesday before Easter, which is called Škaredá středa, which means ugly Wednesday, because Judas frowned on Jesus. And on this day, typically you should be smiling, because according to tradition, this will be keeping your smile all year round. So make sure to smile when you are making your Jidáše. You can also make them on what's called Green Thursday. And on Green Thursday, people eat green stuff like spinach or at least something green. Not everything doesn't have to be green. And some people would have Jidáše for breakfast. Another thing that is usually very common is that honey is represented in the recipe. It's either in the form of added into a dough, or you put it as a glaze, or some people would bake it without honey and then eat it with the honey. And the honey represents that Judas was not only bad, but since he was Jesus' disciple, he was also sweet. So that's why the honey is there. But I will be doing it as a glaze, which is incredible flavor, and I hope you will give it a try because it's so tasty. So let's start with the recipe. We will need 3/4 of a cup of milk, 1 teaspoon of dry active yeast, 3 tablespoons of granulated sugar, pinch of salt, 2 cups of all-purpose flour. We will need a little bit of lemon zest, and then we will add 1 egg yolk, and we will need the egg white for brushing our Judas buns before they will be baked, so don't waste it. And then we will need 3 tablespoons of unsalted butter, and for the glaze, you will need 1 tablespoon of honey and 1 teaspoon of freshly squeezed lemon juice. So let's start with this recipe. First we will need to warm up our milk. This is 3/4 of a cup of milk, and I put it in the microwave for about 40 seconds. Just make sure that it's warm and it's not hot, otherwise you will kill the yeast. I usually test the milk if it's warm by putting a pinky in, and if it's warm then it's ready. This is perfect. And now we will be adding 3 tablespoons of granulated sugar, 1 teaspoon of active dry yeast. Now let's mix this so the sugar can dissolve a little bit. We might still have sugar on the bottom because it's a lot of sugar, but then we will have to scrape it into our dough. This is good, and now let it sit here for 10 minutes. While we wait for our yeast to proof, we can already prepare more ingredients. First, let's warm up this butter so it can be melted. This is 3 tablespoons unsalted butter, and I will just put it into microwave to melt it. Let's put into a mixing bowl 2 cups all-purpose flour, pinch of salt, and let's use some lemon zest. This is a large local lemon, but I will just use some. This is good. Let's mix this, and to help me smile while I'm making Jidáše, I have this beautiful wooden smiley spoon from my mom. Add melted butter, 3 tablespoons. I just separated egg yolk from egg white, so let's add 1 egg yolk. After 10 minutes, the yeast nicely activated, so you can see nice bubbles. So let's add it. And like I said, the sugar will be on the bottom, so just scrape it off. You can also use just 1 tablespoon for the yeast and then put the 2 tablespoons into here, but I just like things easier and simpler, so I just put it all together. I'll be using my KitchenAid mixer with the hook attachment, and now we will want to mix it at least 5 minutes. So if you are doing it by hand, just make sure that the dough is really worked through. So let's start first on slow so we can mix all the ingredients. It will take a little time before the flour gets mixed in with the wet ingredients, but we can now speed it up. And have the dough nicely worked through for about 5 minutes. After 5 minutes, now we can turn it off. And it's okay if it's sticking, because we need the dough to be a little sticky to form our knots. It's easier. But if it would be extremely sticky, then you can add more flour. Now I will scrape off the dough from the bottom. See if it's sticky like that? It's completely fine. Now let's put flour on the bottom of our bowl where the dough will be rising. Kind of spread it around a little bit. The dough is beautiful. And now let's sprinkle some flour on the top too. And now we will have to let it rise, and the dough needs to double. It might take 1 hour or 1 hour and a half. It depends how warm your house is. So cover it up with a kitchen towel and let it rise in a warm place. I let the dough rise for 1.5 hours, so it nicely doubled. Here I have prepared a baking tray with baking paper. And now let's get the dough out. This recipe makes 8 buns, so if you want more, you can double the recipe. So we will cut the dough in half. Now we will cut it in half again. And each piece in half. So we end up with 8. Some of them might be smaller, but that's okay. I didn't put any flour on the board because it's easier to roll if it's not too floury, because then it slides. If you see that some dough is like this one is larger than this one, then I just like add a little bit into this one. Or you can even put it on a scale if you want them exactly the same. So let's start making our buns. So now you want to roll it, and like I said, it's better if it's a little sticky, because otherwise, see, it would be sliding like that. So I will try to have my board very clear. So this is a good length. And now let's make a knot. So you hold it and you just make a knot. Just like that. So try to not have the ends too long, so it creates a nice knot. And now set it up on a baking tray. Since I added little piece into this one, you just kind of like work with it, just combine it, and you can roll it. Now you can even stretch it while you make the knot, and here it is, another knot. Now they need to rise for half an hour, so cover it up with kitchen towel. Half an hour is up, so let's preheat the oven now to 350. Now we will need to brush them with the egg white that we saved from earlier. So let's do that. And you can be generous because we have plenty. The oven is preheated now to 350 and we will need to bake it for 20 minutes or until they have a beautiful color. While we wait for our Jidáše to be baked, let's prepare our glaze. We will need 1 tablespoon of honey, but before I put honey in, I like to use a little bit of oil, which helps to get the honey out easily. I just spread it like that, and then it's easier for honey to come out and you don't waste it. So let's do 1 tablespoon. And you can see how it nicely came off. See, there's almost no honey left. Just 1 more drop. And that's it. All the honey is off of my spoon, which is perfect. And now let's add 1 teaspoon of freshly squeezed lemon juice. Mix it together. Guys, this is incredible flavor. The lemon and honey, it's amazing. This is ready for when our buns are done. They just finished baking and look at them. How beautifully they rose. And now we will need to put the glaze right away. The glaze will not only give them amazing flavor, but also make them shiny, which is just beautiful. Look at that. I like to use all the glaze because why not, to enjoy it. Look at them, aren't they beautiful, and how nicely shiny they are. And now I have to sample one. They are still pretty hot, so I want to talk to you first because when they are freshly baked, they are the best. They are very fluffy and just amazing. But next day, they might be a little harder. So what I like to do, I like to put them in a toaster oven on a lower temperature because you are not looking to make them crispy. At least I don't like them to be crispy, but I want them to be fluffy in the inside and warm. So that's why I toast it on a lower temperature, and it's amazing. Even like 4 days after they are baked, they are still like freshly baked. So I encourage you to do that. Let's try them now. They are pretty sticky, which is fun, right? So let's try. I just love them. Oh my goodness. I wish you could see how beautifully fluffy they are on the inside. The sweetness of the bread and then the sweetness of the honey with combination of the lemon. The bread is not as sweet, but it's perfectly sweetened with the honey together. So it's just incredible flavor. So I hope you give it a try because you'll be missing out otherwise. So you better go on it. And I hope that you have a great Easter. And I want to say it in a Czech. Veselé Velikonoce. Happy Easter, guys. Bye.